Can we also just talk about for a moment how ridiculous that song is? Because she is definitely wearing two distinct outfits simultaneously.
Do you know
what she's wearing apple bottom jeans and boots with the fur, and also baggy sweatpants and Reeboks with straps.
Okay, you want to know my favorite that's version of that song?
If you're a parent, apparently that's also the song where you find out your daughter has been fucking the English teacher.
I mean, okay.
I mean, it was a skit, but it was still hilarious.
My favorite version of that song is the Beach Boys rendition of it. She got them apple bottom jeans and the boots with the fur. Yeah, the whole damn club wasn't looking at her. It works. They did the whole damn song. It's beautiful. Ladies and gentlemen, it's another BTP UT. I have decided tonight's taint shall be of a different variety because I went to the very famous
The Wrong Store
soft drink bar,
yes,
which is delicious, and it's here in Utah, so everybody else in the world can suck it. I'm gonna pour some vodka in here. Okay, so tonight's episode of the Black Tower podcast. So we decided to do something fun and have some live action loveliness, some live action taint. And we decided that such beautiful live action taint should not be
restricted
with everyone. Okay.
See, so now everyone in our Discord can suck it.
Wait. Everyone in the Discord, you are welcome to suck it at your leisure.
Southern hospitality and me just went, oh no.
Black Tower Podcast coming at you with an episode. This special episode is the last time we record
this season
effect in season 3. And it's the last time we record an episode before the Gathering Madness. That's right. You guys remember, you guys know what's happening here in just, if you're listening to us live, you got 4 days until the madness is gathered in Los Angeles, California. It's going to be an amazing time. We have all kinds of fun lined up. We have all kinds of fun that has not been planned yet, but we're still working on it because
89 hours.
It's going to be a lot of fun. So if you're in the area or you'd like to fly in and get yourself a hotel room and party with us, which I know you want to, come on over. It's going to be a
Come on over, baby. Come on over, baby.
Oh, yeah. So that's it. We're going to do a Black Tower podcast. It's going to be an extravaganza tonight to celebrate the season finale of season 3. You know, I just want to take a moment real quick, just speak a little bit of gratitude and say thanks to our listeners and to my wonderful co-hosts. You guys are the best. And I want to do that real cheesy, stupid thing where on Thanksgiving where people are like, Claire, let's have one, say what you're thankful for. But instead of saying what you're thankful for, I want you to think back and pick a moment in the previous 3 seasons that you love the most. Those of you listening along, throw it in the live chat. Those of you watching this on YouTube, no matter when it is, you know, it could be season 15 and you guys are like, whoa, these Black Tower boys is really cooking. I wonder what they looked like when they started out. I don't know why you have that accent. It's okay. We don't judge.
I was going to say, maybe you just moment
in the comments below.
Indeed.
What about you? What you guys go? What one of you just shoot from the hip real quick? What's a favorite moment?
It's a horrible methodology for accuracy, sir.
You're a horrible method. Wait, well, sorry, what?
I mean, I actually am a horrible methodology for accuracy. Don't use the Andrew method.
Is that your favorite moment? Is that you're a horrible?
Yeah, we just made my favorite moment. Yeah, every moment's my favorite moment, guys. Right, you know this.
Always the next moment. That's the always the next moment. Well, maybe I'll get a little high. All right, I will go first. I think my personal favorite moment in the Black Tower podcast was Josh's face when Andrew surprised him at the very first Madness.
Oh yeah,
because Josh didn't know that Andrew was going to be there. And so having
proceeded to rub Reaper Squeeze's hot sauce in my eye. Yeah.
That was great. So yeah,
that's a close second.
Great for you. It fucking hurt for me.
To run this down for those of you who are unfamiliar, it was the very first Gathering Madness in LA, which, fun story, this one coming up this weekend is the second time we will have done it in LA.
Mm-hmm.
The first LA, it was kind of a thing of happenstance. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm taking the family on vacation. We're going through LA. Daniel lives in LA. I should actually go meet my co-host, whom I've been recording with for the last 6-7 months. And I start messaging the guys. I'm like, hey guys, I'm going to be in LA. This is going to be a lot of fun. Daniel, what are you doing? We're gonna hang out. We got to meet. We got to hang out and do some things. It was a lot of fun. And Andrew, unbeknownst to me, was like, fuck it. I'm going to fly into LA and all three of us are going to party. This is going to be great. And we were in.
I actually went all out for that trip, by the way, which I rarely do.
He did.
I did flight. I did rental car. I did hotel. It is rare that I do all of those things.
And it was, to this day is tremendously appreciated. And then we were at the escape room. We were at the escape room, and Daniel was like, okay, before we get started, I got one more surprise for you. Because he had got us donuts, and he was like, yeah, we're gonna do a game, it's gonna be great, I'm gonna be a nice host, I'm being awesome. And then he goes, I got one more surprise for you. And Andrew walks in, babyface Andrew, no beard at the time. And he walks in, and it was the first time
we actually went and pulled up that photo. And he and I both have little facial hair, and I have bright red head hair.
It's great. It was a great moment. It was a really great. I gotta say that's got to be one of my favorites. Let's see.
Actually, you know what? I have a second one, and I'm going to throw it out. And I apologize if I'm taking either of yours, but I am going to throw out another one because it really is also very much imprinted in my brain. And that is going up to Josh's place in Ogden on November of last year. And that very first moment of being in a room with the three of us and a number of other people who were also watching, and getting that very first moment of when the TV show came out. Yes. And we were all in Josh's basement, and we were all watching it together, and that
was great.
Felt the magnitude of the moment, and it was fantastic, especially because Josh had actually gotten a chance to see the first two episodes earlier, because he had actually gotten a chance to go to one of the premieres.
Yes. I was in,
and I had missed the one in LA, and Andrew had not had one nearby enough, at least on long enough notice, to make any of the ones over on the East Coast either. And so both of us were actually watching it for the first time. Josh had gotten a chance to watch it already, but he was doing, I'm going to say this very kindly and civilly. When it is something to that level of excitement for Josh, it could be the 12th time that he's watching it, and he will still be one of the most excited and hyped people in the room.
Just wait till this weekend when we do our watch party.
Right? Just it was definitely awesome. So, all right, Josh, what do you got?
I think one of mine. There's a lot of like really notable moments, but I think maybe one of my favorite ones is it's gonna have to be that Saturday of Jordan Con when Daniel finally walks through the front doors after bubble after bubble after bubble of evil just afflicts the shit out of Spirit Airlines. We hadn't really been in contact with him all day.
I'm sorry. Spirit Airlines is actually just a bubble of evil. They were not being affected by bubbles.
The whole airline.
They are a bubble of evil.
I mean, I was trying to give benefit of the doubt to avoid getting sued by their even not as good as Better Call Saul lawyer, but yeah, fair enough. But you walk in and
I'll take the rap on that one.
And within 5 minutes, we're like, "Hey, glad you made it. You have 10 minutes, and we're going live on Dusty Wheel with Matt and everybody here." So
fucking couch gone.
It was good.
Yeah.
It was good.
And,
that was fantastic.
That really embodied a lot of how we do things here. Hey, you're here. We have a thing in like 10 minutes. Get ready.
Yep.
I know you just like finally got here after probably like camping out in an airport, but
well, and of course, I will be honest.
Now,
I will be honest. I mean, I'm not trying to throw anybody under any buses, but I will also say if it needed to happen to someone and that person would still be able to just be like, cool, punches, let's roll with them. That is like, that's what I do. I just punch me as many times as you need to, because I will just figure out how to just.
I love it. Roll with them. Just roll with them.
But yeah, no, that was
perpetually doesn't hear a bell, not because there isn't one.
I didn't hear no bell.
Just a ruptured eardrum.
Wait, hang on. Wait, even better. Hold on.
All right. Got it.
I could do this all day.
Oh, good lord. Get out of here. Okay, so
not the Captain America show mouse pad.
Before I give mine, we had a couple in chat pop up.
Yes,
of course, Adalorna Sedai, one of her. I'm surprised she said favorite moments. I thought this was one of her most hated moments. Is when we shaved for the wadathon. I looked like an Ilion.
To be fair, we did actually only shave this part
of it, yes.
Therefore, the beard was actually still there. Sorry, I meant on our faces, Andrew, not on our our
I
heads.
didn't do anything with the face.
But yes, exactly.
She's now specifying most memorable,
indeed,
not favorite.
Had we gone ahead and actually shaved the beard area, I think she would be like, never again
committing murders.
Black Tower motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still propose that was at least slightly easier to deal with than leaving work like on the Friday before that with a full head of hair, showing up to work on Monday with nothing but the beard.
Oh yeah,
and just watching everybody in my office go, "What happened to you?" And my only excuse being charity.
Indeed. I got in a fight with a weed whacker, and the weed whacker won.
I do want to say this because it is one of my favorite moments as well. But Ole Slayer is going all the way back and said, "When the three of us coalesced and relit the torch of the Black Tower podcast." And yes, that actually kind of moves my heart a little bit. I'm really glad to know that there are people out there who are really appreciating what we're doing. So this one's to you, Ole Slayer, and indeed, to you, Adalorna Sedai. You guys are the best. You guys are what make the tower. All of you listeners are. You guys are awesome.
I remember the day that I was called up from the reserves, and Andrew said to me,
The Black Tower.
The
calls.
Black Tower rides for Tarmangaiden. Will I ride alone? And I said, no.
No!
I said, nay, sir. Nay, you will not.
Let's
No,
see,
you will not. Every Tuesday from 7 to 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Any other day, let me know in advance. I'll see what my schedule allows.
Smack says the Taste the Taint challenge is always a favorite.
Yes.
Matt Stagger says...
Dude, I really like the second year because Fantology showed up
that's
at your
right.
place and went sauce for sauce. Adalorna, you showed up last year and went sauce for sauce. We got someone else
like some sissies.
Well, no, they're not going to be there for the Taste the Tank now.
Correct.
But they still may try to go sauce for sauce. Who knows?
We'll see. Yeah.
They're going to go Sprite for Sprite, Spirit for Spirit.
There you go.
That's it.
Spirit for Spirit. Yes.
Yeah.
Matt Stagger says our interview with Kate Fleetwood, which
yes.
Oh, yeah.
I still look at that and I
there.
go, did that actually happen? Let's watch the
Was
video.
I alive?
It actually
was
happened.
I alive for that?
Yeah.
Yep. Indeed.
Lots of great moments. I think
pretty dope moments. Oh, getting chosen by Amazon to do the Twitter watch party for episode 6 of season 1. Like, there's people you get DMs from on Twitter, or generally, like, I'll get a message or we'll get a message from Josh about, like, hey, we just got a DM from Twitter. And every once in a while, Josh will kind of freak out. And it'll be stuff that's, like, cool, but, like, for me personally, may not be, like, freak out worthy. Sure. And it was just like one of those moments. Josh is like, oh my God, guys, you're like, you got to see this, something crazy, or this is big, or something like that. And we're like, oh, okay, did we hit a milestone in followers or something like that? And then it's like, you have a DM from the Wheel of Time, and it's like, why?
I
was like, I hope it's a good thing and not you guys need to change your name.
Right, or something along those lines.
But,
all right, what is this? What is it? Cease and desist. Does that mean they like it?
Do you know
why do they want me to say us and die sis? I don't even have a sis.
I think my favorite moment, and I tweeted it out because the Wheel of Time, the Tweeter of Chaos said I could. But my favorite moment, one of my favorite moments, I don't know that I can find a favorite, but one of my favorite moments was when Tweeter of Chaos sent out Valentine's cards to everybody, and ours was a picture of Lan, and it said, "You're the only one I want to be bonded to the Black Tower podcast from the Wheel of Time." And
yes!
I have that framed on my wall. It really upsets my wife.
Does it though?
No.
Okay.
No, it doesn't.
I do love how you're showing your age a little bit. I mean, like, not actually, but there's that commercial with the 3 older ladies, and she's got all of the Facebook posts printed out.
Right.
From the internet, and then she posts them on the wall. And then the one lady is like, that's not how this works.
That's not how any of this works. No, I'm
just
gonna say it's been an absolute ride. I have had so much fun diving back into my favorite book series of all time, because really, and I think a lot of us, before the advent of a lot of the internet and how easy social media was, a lot of us, I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of us, I feel like, we'll get into the books, have a great time with the books, talk to our friends about the books, and get this look, like the look, you know what I'm saying? And then you kind of shut down. You kind of go, oh, okay, people haven't read this book. Nobody wants to talk about this book. I'm going to keep it to myself. And then, like, every once in a while, you're like, oh, yeah, cleanse the taint. And someone's like, is the taint cleansed? And you kind of go, how far have you read? And you find one in the wild, and you're like talking to them, and you're excited. And I feel like every week when we do this, it's that moment for me. ever all over again. And it doesn't matter. We've been doing this for 3 years. We're going to do this for 4 years. We're going to do this for 10 years. It's going to be Black Tower Podcast forever. I'm going to get that tattooed across my chest. Just kidding.
What if we've already done it for 4 years?
We have already done it for 4 years. This is the end of season 3, but it's the end of year 4.
Year 4. That's right. But anyway.
I actually, one of my coworkers, the one that most recently, which really wasn't that recent ago, started reading the series. He just finished book 6.
Nice.
So he was like, I finally understand the name of your podcast. And I'm like, you're welcome.
Yes.
Yeah, you do.
Yes. Let the hate flow through you. Yes.
That's right. Love it. So happy.
Nice.
No, but this is actually a pretty good segue into our topic for this evening. We do have a topic.
We do. Yes.
This is not us stroking our own egos.
It has been reminiscing with the Black Tower, but also we have a topic.
And so one of the things that I would like to say,
we've got all
as a
weekend
reminder,
to like this.
What?
We've got all weekend to reminisce.
That's true. One of the things I will say is that, in life, we often find ourselves tainted with, stress and anxieties and depressions and things that plague us. And
but then we have a good friend who tells us to stop doing that, and we feel better.
Yeah, right.
Wait,
that's exactly it. No, what I was going to say before I was interrupted was it's important in those times, because it can be when times are the most difficult. We all have been there. We all know. But it's important in those times to remember the good things that happened, to remember the good people that you're surrounded yourself with, to talk to those good people that you've surrounded yourself with. And those good memories, those good times, and those good people give us in our real lives a very good means and method of holding back the taint, of holding back the madness of the Dark One. So when you're at your low, don't be there alone, okay? Take those memories of good times with you, take those good people with you, and reach out to someone. And every small happy memory is another victory against the dark. Okay.
Hey Josh, Mr. McElwain.
Yes.
Why do we fall?
Get back up. I don't know.
You got the quote, but you were not confident. Yes, Mr. Wayne.
Why that's right. That's right. So
it's easy for me to kick you. I have
now the reason I'm doing this is because tonight's topic is an instance that's only happened 3 times in the books. It's only happened 3 times. Oddly enough, by 3 different people. Yeah, 3. 1, 2, 3. 2 people who are good guys, and 1 people who's a bad guy. That's why they're separated like this.
Indeed. Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. Two in the light and 1 in the dark.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly that, Daniel. 2 in the light, 1 in the dark. Tonight we're talking about healing the madness, healing the taint.
Oh, well, before we do that,
taint.
We're going to make sure that you're all protected from.
Oh, we definitely need some spoiler protection. That's for damn sure,
without a doubt.
So we're going to go ahead and do that now and listen to the dulcet tones of our good friend Malkir's sexiest chef, the 3rd best swordsman, our friend Malkir talks.
2nd best.
As I go refill my drink. There may be those who disagree. Maybe the first of them. Who knows? Anyway,
Welcome to the Black Tower. This is your spoiler condom. If you have not read the complete works of Robert Jordan, The Wheel of Time, books 1 to 14, and also New Spring, Big Bad Book of White Arts, and The Companion, you are at risk of being spoiled. Spoilers come with side effects. These side effects may include headache, nausea, vomiting, death, dizziness, vaginal or penile eruptions and ejaculations, dysentery, cardiac arrhythmia, mild heart explosions, varicose veins, darkened stool, darkened souls, more vomiting, arthritis, hemorrhoids or diabetes, virginity, mild discomfort, vampirism or werewolfism, gender inequality for the whole planet, spontaneous dental hydroplosion, sugar highs, even more vomiting, or maybe just a mild rash. If you cannot deal with these side effects, please leave now, for fear of spoilers. You have been warned.
Malkiri Rob, thank you, sir. I
I'm
absolutely
really glad
love
Zoom
that.
is telling me to set up professional audio and audio settings.
As opposed to our amateur one. That's amazing.
Yeah, I like amateur audio a lot more. More authentic. Oh, speaking of authentic, it's not one of the ones that are in competition, and spoiler for who submitted it, but this is actually a drink that we'll be trying as part of the Watt Tales
Ooh.
contest, though it will not be a contestant because this is one of my submissions.
Nice. I like
this is the one I told Josh about. And
yes, it is. You didn't tell me what was in it.
Other people.
Did you? Did you tell me what was in it?
I don't remember if I said anything about it in the. No, I didn't say anything about it in public chat. So the name of this one is For the Love of Rand.
For the love of...
And
yes.
If you want to know what's in it, either go back and watch the stuff from the Gathering Madness, or if you're listening live, tune in to the Gathering Madness.
That's right. And I happen to
or be
know
a patron and just wait and get the book.
that one of our Wattail submissions,
more shoddy. I don't want to hear it.
Does contain some of the Dark One's taint.
Oh,
Like the hot sauce that I made.
All
I do
right,
have
then.
that on good authority.
Nice.
So it's going to be good. It's going to be fun. Okay, everyone who's listening, tonight we're discussing the cleansing of specifically the cleansing of the madness upon personages, peoples and personages. Okay. As I said, it's only been done 3 times. Once by the Betrayer of Hope, Sir Ishamael. Once by Lady Nynaeve Almira. And once by Sir Dahmer Flynn, Ashaman of the Black Tower.
That is Sir Dahmer Flynn Esquire. Thank you very much. Please give him his full title.
Okay. You know, that's fair.
Some of those,
that's fair.
Some of those instances may, in and of themselves, also include several sub-instances, but it's all
that is true.
One scene.
Yes.
Indeed.
Yes. Well, yes. The problem is that, you know, we could do a whole episode on
I agree. We could do a whole episode on
awesome moments that happened off page, right? There's Matt versus Couladin.
It's actually not bad.
Wait, Matt fights Couladin?
Woo! Sorry, I meant to mute and I couldn't get to it fast enough, and the sneeze came out.
Well, I mean, it depends. If we treat everybody else by the same metric, we treat men, then no, and it also was of no use and helped nobody. So, I said what I said. You can feel free to at me. I won't see it, but you can at me.
So, so we'll start. I guess we'll start with the first one because not only is it the first time we see it, but it's also, I feel like, an imperfect sort of version of healing of the madness of the taint, and that is in the prologue. What we get is Luz Theron wandering around. Ilyena, my love, where are you? Ishamael pops out.
Oh, that one, the one Red Eagle put on TV. Yeah.
Yeah, that one. Hey. I still
Are we even sure that actually happened, or was it just a weird fever dream?
I mean, so Ishamael pops out and he's like, hello, Luz Theron. And he's like ready to boast, right? Like, I win. Ha ha ha. And Luz Theron is batshit insane. Right.
Oh, he welcomes him as a guest.
Yes.
Like, he's so far gone that he's
Ilyena will give me the rough side of her tongue if I don't introduce you properly.
Wonderful person who's here. And he's like, you wonderful, but what? We're enemies. We're the most enemigos all over.
On the statement of the rough side of her tongue, is Ilyena a tabaxi? Like, what the fuck? What? Yeah, a tabaxi. That's the D&D cat people use.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Stop it.
I will break your Nico kneecaps.
All right. That's going to be a GIF right there. Someone's going to make that a GIF. I immediately regret my decision.
I immediately
also, I do love the headcanon that Ilyena is a Nico girl, so that's cool.
Which makes her death even more of a tragedy than it was before.
Oh, Ilyena! So Ishamael gets pissed, right? Because he can't brag. He can't boast. Luz is like,
he can't do anything. He can't die. He can't boast.
And so what does he do? He says, fine. I'm not as talented as your sisters with this kind of thing, but I'm going to do my best. And then, of course, we get a montage of, you know what? Oh, God. Side note real quick.
Oh, God.
So, remember in Winter's Dragon, in this scene, Billy Zane has him by the head, and he's like, be healed, Luz Theron. And there's the spinny camera work. It's the same kind of camera work as episode 8, the season finale in season 1 of the Wheel of Time. Is that a callback?
I still don't like it. If you're gonna call back to Winter Dragon, I have several concerns. And the chief one is, how are you gonna call back without having at least a flash of the series Ishamael being the face of Billy Zane? Like, that should have been like a flash of like his face as Billy Zane.
It was both Ishamael scenes where the camera was like,
it might be, but that's definitely one like I could live without.
You know what?
That's not saying much considering what I keep
leave a
saying
comment below.
8,
leave a comment in live chat. Do you think it's the same thing? After this episode is done, you better believe I'm going to be doing some rewatch, and I'm going to see if it's done the same way. And if it is, I will die on this hill. Rafe and the director of episode 8 were trying to do a callback to Winter's Dragon, and I just uncovered it. You heard it here first at the Black Tower Podcast. You're welcome, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, Josh.
Yes.
Weird hill to die on, but at least you're dead.
But at least you're dead.
Damn. Fucking shots fired.
So he grabs Luz Theron, and in the book it describes obviously extraordinary amounts of pain, right? Luz Theron is screaming in pain, like, "Oh my God, what is going on?" And I don't think we really get a description of what specific weaves he's using.
Oh, not even a little.
We just get.
Oh, I think we get a hint.
Basically, just flashing
because
the power right through it.
Ishmael does give us, like he's been doing the entire prologue, a sentence, but he actually gives us a sentence that says, "But I fear Shaitan's healing is different from the sort you know. Be healed, Luz Theron."
So it's probably the true source that he's using, or the true power that he's using, not
That's what I'm
the
thinking.
True source.
Because if the taint is something that your Lord and Master of the Dark has placed on men that can channel, one, it would stand to reason that you have to use his power to alleviate it by any stretch, but also it would have to be his tacit approval for you to remove or peel back, even for a moment, something that he has done.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, like, I hear what you're saying, and on some levels, I definitely agree. I entirely think that it's very possible that Ishamael at that point is just like, okay, the easiest way to go ahead and deal with this is to just use the Dark One's power to remove the Dark One's taint from you so that you can see what's happening.
So he's using the true power,
however,
not Saidin.
Correct. However, I will also say that given that later, now that we're fully spoilered, given that later there are people who can remove madness using one half of the true source, I certainly don't think it's a requirement. And I definitely think that Ishamael at that point absolutely feels like the Dark One would be okay with him going ahead and cleansing Luz Theron of the taint so that Luz Theron can realize how much he done fucked up. Like, that actually sounds like a very Shaitan thing. So I feel like it's definitely not, I feel like it's not necessarily, the line is suggestive and I like where you're going with it, but given that later we have it being healed with just Saidar, I think that it easily could just be Saidin.
Yeah. Well, again, I also never said that it was a requirement.
Correct.
I think that is something that Ishmael would have done, because I think at this point, he's relatively unsure of exactly how free Shaitan's reach is. Because this is happening very soon after the attempted sealing of the bore.
Yes.
And where is he really motivated to do what Shaitan wants for fear of like being not reborn? Absolutely not. He wants that. He's like, don't reborn me. Don't bring me back.
I dare you, motherfucker.
But I could also see him being smart enough to say, if I'm too blazingly apparent at my disregard for what Shaitan wants, he's just going to keep me around to torture me, which is why he goes through as Ishmael and Morden and does all this stuff to make it look like he is fighting for the sake of Shaitan, while ultimately hoping that somewhere in that, either Shaitan will just obliterate all of creation or he will somehow be obliterated by his opponents. In the moment, is that really like chief in his mind? Very possibly not. It may simply just be a thing like, because we see as soon as he's reborn as Morden and regains full access as Neeblis to the true power, true power, right? Yeah,
mm-hmm.
Yeah,
true power.
Yeah. That he uses, he uses the true power like a heroin addict uses heroin. I don't know. Like, it's just all the time, every chance he can, for any excuse and any reason. Not to necessarily disparage heroin addicts, but fight addiction. You can do it. I have faith in you. Morden couldn't, and you see what happened to him. That's actually not a good example because he kind of gets what he wants in the end. So let's not go that route.
Well,
anyway,
but only with
I think
help
it's the true
from
power.
others.
True.
But only with help from others.
This is true.
The other thing is that when
you saved it, Daniel, thank you.
Elon,
I got you.
Ishi heals Luz Theron, he knows it's a temporary measure. So it's very important to note that he doesn't heal him completely of his madness. He's able to peel it back just enough so that he knows what he did. And so that Ishi could say, "Neeny, neeny, boo, boo," which is a real dick move. Like, tell me you hate a guy without telling me you hate a guy. Like, can you imagine, like, okay, say you go insane, like complete certifiably insane, are no longer able to understand what you're doing, right? And you kill a bunch of people. And then you're on trial, they put you into a criminally insane place and they say, you know, we're going to give him the chair, you got the death sentence. And then someone says, hey, right before we kill him, let's heal him so he knows what he did. That's dark, Ishi. Like, bro.
I mean,
dark.
we know that Ishi is the ultimate edgelord, so.
Well, I mean,
we know that that's in his wheelhouse.
Yeah.
So, and this, I'm not gonna like. Part of this thought is definitely brought up by probably what you've both seen in the live chat too, because the fact checker Mahale is here with us and has posted a paraphrasing of a Q&A. Or sorry, it is a Crown of Swords signing report from October 9th of 1996, where Robert Jordan was asked, basically, what are the limits of the true power? When do we see it used before? And RJ points that it was used in the prologue of the Eye of the World, and it was used to heal insanity, and that the one power cannot be used to heal insanity.
Which is directly at odds with the book, but also not Robert Jordan's book.
Getting there. Because the question I was going to ask is, whenever we see like Nynaeve and Dahmer Flynn do, which spoiler alert under the spoiler warning are the two other kind of instances we're going to talk about.
Correct.
When they do their healing, does it actually roll back any of the insanity and madness, or does it just prevent it from getting worse? Because I feel like I vaguely remember Nynaeve saying, I can stop it from getting worse, but I can't roll back the damage already done.
Okay. This is an important thing to notice, because Nynaeve delves Ashaman Nafe. Or is he an Ashaman? I don't know if he's an Ashaman, but it's Nafe.
He's a dedicated. He's the one.
But he's bonded to an Aes Sedai.
A
yes.
Ashaman.
Yes, lowercase a Ashaman.
Love it.
What are soldiers? Are they just no case a? They're just shaman.
It's just shaman.
They're just shaman.
Yeah. Members of the shaman.
Oh God.
Until you get your peen.
I love it.
Anyway,
she delves him, notices what she calls little black barbs all stuck throughout his brain. And she's like, this has got to be healed. You got to be able to heal this. We've got to be able to do this. She is able to remove the barb. But there are two things with it. One, it leaves a mark. Like you can't just heal the brain entirely, kind of a thing. And two, it takes a lot of energy out of her. And Nafe is one of the ones who's sort of on the lighter end when it comes to exposure to the taint on Saidin. She's able to heal or remove the taint from his mind. He has tears in his eyes. He's no longer afraid to use Saidin. He runs off with tears in his eyes to tell his Aes Sedai, I've been healed, yay. And Nynaeve sits down and goes, holy crap. She then looks at Rand. She then tries to delve Rand, and it's not happening. Even the act of removing one of the barbs of Saidin It's also like a cascade thing, right? Nynaeve is afraid of doing partial removals because she doesn't know how it's going to affect things, blah, 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 blah. And so when she looks into Rand's mind, and Rand is just, instead of neurons firing, he's got little black spines, little black barbs of the taint on Sidene, which makes sense because the man has channeled literally all of Sidene at some point in time.
Well, she also notices a barrier with Rand.
And yes, there's another barrier. There's a white net wrapped around each one, and she's like, "Yeah, I can't heal this, but I think you're good."
Yeah, she's kind of like, "That's different from the already different." So I'm gonna put a pin in that, and we might come back to that.
Maybe a barb. We'll see.
No.
Well, and okay, so this is definitely one of the things that's.
Yeah, Rand had a taint condom on his back.
So this is one of the things that's left somewhat unclear, which is not my favorite thing in the world, but also totally understandable. And that is there are three pieces of this that are unclear. Number one, and the easiest, is Robert Jordan said in an interview as an answer to a question, the one power can't heal insanity. He's also not the one who actually wrote the story where insanity gets healed. Now, again, I will absolutely say, with absolutely no question or qualms, I think that Brandon Sanderson did his absolute best to follow Robert Jordan's wishes and to do different things to make it so that his notes and his answers to questions and his vision for the series and everything like that was well realized in the last three books. That being said, the one power can't heal insanity is still a mildly open thing in some ways, because just because it can't heal insanity, can it stopper it up? Can it change it? Can it do something about it, even if it can't heal it? There are still open possibilities with it, even if you're saying point blank, the one power cannot heal insanity. Because, of course, the second thing here is that it seems like Nynaeve isn't actually healing insanity necessarily, but it's also not fair to say that she's like, I can't stop it from getting worse. Because when it comes right down to it, it definitely seems like the story is saying, even with Robert Jordan still writing it, after the taint is cleansed, it won't get worse for those people who are channeling Sidene anyway. So saying the phrase, I can stopper it up and make sure that it won't get worse, absolutely could just be unreliable narrator who doesn't know what they're talking about, of it was never going to get worse anyway, so that's not a worry, but you're still worried about it because you don't know, because you're not channeling Sidene, so you're still saying that as a phrase. Or it could just be, maybe once you're actually inflicted with the taint, or afflicted, not inflicted, afflicted with the taint, it does legitimately just get worse. And so the only people who are actually now protected are the people who are touching Sidene only after it's cleansed. But that doesn't seem to be what the story is saying either.
Well,
and so I think really what's happening is that she's just changing the way it works. Because, I mean, we do have, again, a very helpful viewer in the chat saying the taint caused Nafe to see Murderall, and once he's healed, he knows that they weren't there and no longer sees them actively, but he still knows that they were there. In his memories, they still exist. In his mind, they still existed, even though he's been healed of his affliction. So it's really just, I can't make all the bad things that have happened to you go away in the past, but I can make sure no new bad things happen.
I actually really like that, because the memory of trauma, the memory of a traumatic experience can still leave an emotional scar that affects the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
So to say I can't roll it back, I like that. She can't go back and modify his memories.
Yep.
She can't go back and modify the past in his mind so that he knows that that never happened, kind of a thing.
Yeah, that he's not hurt by it.
The emotion, the memory, the fear, the trauma will always be there.
Yep.
Period. Sorry. Nothing I can do about that. And unfortunately, even though I now can recognize, oh, that was insanity, it wasn't real, it didn't happen. What I cannot do is remove myself from that memory and unexperience those things.
Maybe the more appropriate thing that Nynaeve could have said was, I can't heal over the scars that you've already received, but I can make sure that no new ones get made.
I think that's a good distinction. I think that's a good way to put it.
Yeah. So,
well,
again, I think that is an accurate statement as far as what the book seemed to suggest, which is your madness can't hurt you anymore, because I'm getting rid of the parts that are actually stabbing into your brain,
that are actively hurting you.
Yeah, that are actively hurting you, but I can't take back the hurt that has already been inflicted on you.
I almost wonder too.
He's got the book.
Pulling out the book, because this whole scene with Nynaeve, is that however you say his name? Even though I just read his name, Nynaeve. Yeah. Is chapter 15, Towers of Midnight. And so Nynaeve does her normal Nynaeve thing that we associate with her healing, the using all 5 weaves of the power.
Mm-hmm.
And she does the counter weave, what she thinks is like an opposite weave to not the compulsion, but the madness or the taint that she sees stuck on or just lazing over Nynaeve's mind. Because at first she just describes it as like a network of veins that kind of go around. She doesn't notice the barbs initially. And her weave just fades and nothing happens. And then she delves deeper and notices the barbs. And then that's whenever she still does the counter weave, but then also uses all 5 powers to take and pull each little thorn out, remove it, heal it, and throw her counter weave on the taint at the same time. And she remarks that rather than being like any actual illness or affliction, it is a lot closer to compulsion, or reminds her a lot more of compulsion than it does of any ailment. And so for that reason, there is the potential, given that this is Towers of Midnight and Nynaeve's experience and expertise and talent and healing by this point, which I definitely think completely enabled her to even do this in the first place. That maybe, though the effect seems very akin to healing, because obviously madness is going to be viewed as a sort of sickness, maybe we're not exactly right in calling it an actual like disease and it actually being healed, but maybe we'd be better served thinking of it closer to compulsion, but like a compounding compulsion that forces the mind to see and perceive reality in illogical ways, designed to make them question reality and question those around them and turn against those around them, like a slowly increasing form of compulsion to slowly turn a good person into just irrational and maybe an agent of the dark.
I also love the idea, and I've never thought about this before, so it definitely is one of those sort of like aha moments that Andrew just gave me, which I fucking love, is the idea of when the Dark One acts on the world, he sends his power out to sort of roll along the threads of the pattern, and they run into things whether that be Taviran or, other thread crossings or whatever, and they pop. And that's what is called a bubble of evil. And they're all different, and they're all unique to whatever is sort of happening at that point. And they all have, very interesting manifestations as they go. And I think that has a lot to do with what thread they were traveling down, what caused them to go ahead and go off in the first place, and things like that. I think that it sounds like Madness is also a lot like that. It's just personal, brain-bound bubbles of evil, which is why as you use use Sidene more and more and more, you're sort of calling those into yourself. And that's where you get further and further like spider webs of black and like veins of black as they just travel further and further down into your brain and your psyche. And of course, some people are able to just fight off those bubbles of evil for long lengths of time. I mean, Rand fights off a ton of actual physical bubbles of evil throughout the Dragon Reborn and the Shadow Rising, as does, Matt and Perrin and whatnot. And so some people are just particularly well versed at fighting off bubbles of evil, but anyone breaks after long enough. And so I really like that idea of it's very similar to compulsion. It's the Dark One doing everything that he can to influence your actions, influence your knowledge, influence your how you think of things, a la compulsion. And it's just, it manifests differently for everybody because he doesn't actually have direct control over it, like, the way that Moghedian uses compulsion on a bunch of people, and Grendel uses compulsion on a bunch of people and whatnot, because those all look very, very similar. They're doing the same thing over and over again, but they also know exactly what they're weaving every time. They know exactly what they're doing to lay the exact same net over the exact over each individual person when they need them to do that specific thing. But since the Dark One is so willy-nilly, that's one of the reasons that it's so individualized. It's because it's a bubble of evil effectively popping in someone's brain along a very specific thread trajectory caused by a very specific event, caused by, all of these different things. And each one of those things is very unique to each individual and very unique to where they are in their life at the point where they first touch it and they continue to touch it, and all of this different stuff. And so when she comes through and she eliminates those things, it's basically just reverse engineering the Dark One's touch. It's not about actual like madness or disease at all. It's just erasing those moments of that bubble residue.
Or
and
even
course,
even like pulling a knife out of a stab wound, like that's not healing per se. It's removing an object that is causing more pain. And anybody in the medical field will tell you, if you get stabbed, leave it there until a medical professional
the fuck alone
can remove it professionally, because you are much more likely to do more damage pulling it out than if you were to just leave it there and let a medical professional remove it for you. And
there's
so
also
go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, her first attempt at removing the taint from Naif is just like her attempts and her semi-successes in removing compulsion. She lays a counter weave that lays counter to the one that's already there, lays it on, it disappears. But of course, the first time she does it to Curb, Curb dies. So she applies the lessons learned from failing to remove compulsion to, not instantly kill Nafe.
Yes.
Yeah, well, and that's another thing she notices real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it would make sense that if this was something done by, I don't know, one of two entire entities that exist outside space-time and have direct access to an infinite supply of power, they probably can do compulsion differently and in many ways better, like a way that can't just be like, okay, well, here's a counter weave to pull it off, or, even though it's not that simple. But I would imagine the Dark One has a better way, or this not easier, I'm using all the wrong words here, has this more concrete way of doing it where it can't just simply be counter weaved off. And a stopgap put in to heal the damage afterwards. And it also would make sense that he would want it to be something, or that he would allow it to be something that builds over time, because time doesn't really matter a lot to a being that lives outside space-time. So
yeah. Well, so here's another question to go ahead and ask for another time, but it's also very much related to this, which is, all of this started, or a lot of this started, by drilling into the Dark One's prison, right? That's where a lot of the story starts, and where they right, where now the Dark One is loose in the world, people have access to him, they're turning over to the dark side, they're gaining the ability to use the true power with his permission. And then we go through blah, 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 blah. We do the stopgap. Doesn't really work. People can still use the true power, though there's a very, very small amount of them. And of course, the Dark One seems to be very averse to letting people do that for a while, blah, 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 blah. At the point that Rand goes ahead and does the better seal, does he then actually cut off use to the true power? Because, of course, Kalendor, for example, has the ability to use the true power in some ways. But it does have to come from somewhere.
For the true power,
yeah, but it still has to come from somewhere. So can Rand now walk around with Kalendor, or really any man that can channel? It doesn't need to be Rand. But can any man who can channel walk around with Kalendor now and do a better job of healing insanity? Because they can sort of, without the Dark One's permission,
I don't
because
think so.
The Dark One is imprisoned, use it? Or is it a situation where they still need the Dark One's permission? Or is it a situation where the Dark One is sealed away far enough that you just can't even access the true power at all,
that's
regardless of permission? Therefore, Kalendor is actually that much less impressive now in Age 4.
Yep, that's mine.
I mean, they gotta somehow forget about its link to the true power so that somebody can come back around and read and discover it and, make the critical discoveries. Right.
Here you go. Time. Fan theory. Kalendor has survived numerous turnings of the wheel.
Turnings of the wheel?
Turnings of the wheel.
I would say if there was an object to survive numerous turnings of the wheel, Kalendor would be my top pick.
Oh, I would say that the two things that I feel like are eternal are actually Kalendor and the crystal, and the crystal forest.
Ooh.
I think that the pillars are actually.
We reforged the shards of the crystal forest. And I name you Kalendor, Flame of the West.
No, not that. I just think that the crystal columns in Ruidian, they actually built Ruidian around those crystal columns, and that's why they decided to build Ruidian there. Not that they built the crystal columns in the Age of Legends or anything, but that just the crystal columns are a remnant of so many past ages, and that no one knows because no one is old enough to remember, and there's not enough writing.
Another crystal column goes up.
Until eventually it takes over the whole world.
Yes!
Oh my God, wait.
I actually love that.
Wait.
Which is why it can see into past times. It's a reflection of past lives, ages, and turnings of the wheel.
Wait, guys. I love the idea of them not just expanding in one area, but having the crystal columns in Ruidian, and then also having a whole forest of crystal columns show up in like Shanchan. That'd be dope as fuck. All right.
Well, they have to have some kind of oracular powers to know when. You know what? This is a topic for another episode.
Yes, it is. It definitely.
We're gonna put that. We're gonna
actually
put a pin in that.
You know what I think this is a legitimate topic for? A fanfic.
The one that you mean, the one that I still have to compile into a single document.
Correct.
That one, that fanfic.
Yes.
So getting back to the healing portion of this, the more I think about this, the more I think, God, did anyone else heal? Like, I'm struggling to remember specifically when Dahmer Flynn did it.
So again,
I was thinking of how lame it is that RJ confirms that Kalendor was made during the War of Power. That's fucking lame.
that is really cool.
But
so from my recollection, and again, I know that Morshadi is here, and I welcome him to go ahead and tell me, that I'm incorrect, or confirm with me that I am, or whatever. If I remember correctly, there are two instances when Nynaeve and Flynn are directly compared. And by that, I mean the first time that Nynaeve shows up and says, hey, I can do this thing that's never been done before, i.e. healing, stilling, or healing, gentling, or whatever. Everybody looks at her and goes, that's awesome. Also, we have a guy who did that as well. Because we have a number of Aes Sedai around that were stilled by Rand, and he fixed them. And then at some point, she also does healing of madness. And Dahmer Flynn, this is not a situation where they then look at Dahmer, or they look at her and go, hey, Dahmer, you already did that too. No, I believe there is a conversation where Nynaeve and Dahmer talk, and he learns how to do it, and he starts going around doing healing people of madness because Nynaeve has other things to do. She doesn't have time to sit in the tower and just sort of day by day heal madness, whereas that's kind of Dahmer's job in a lot of ways, because he is sitting in the tower, learning, training, doing whatever, and he is the tower healer. And so I believe they talk about the fact that Nynaeve and Dahmer discuss healing madness. She effectively gives him notes on how to do it, and then he spends time going and healing madness around the tower for those most afflicted, because Nynaeve can't stay.
The scene plays out like this. Doctor? Doctor?
Do you concur?
Doctor, do you concur? Do you concur, doctor? Doctor.
Yes.
Doctor.
Yes.
See you at the next medical conference.
Yes, exactly. And so again, we never actually see Dahmer do it. There's only the one scene of Nynaeve healing madness. But she does give him the ability to do so. And of course, we have enough examples of Dahmer showing the ability to work deftly enough with all 5 powers that he can do it. Therefore, we just assume that he does, because there's no good reason for him not to.
So where we're going with that is that he is another healer on par with Nynaeve. Yes. And there's actually one other
Samiko
or actually
Samitsu? Sorry.
Hold on, I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get her. Yes, Samiko Karistovan.
Okay, yes.
Of the kin, but she's also not in the White Tower. She's from the kin.
Correct. So we have one of each of the 3 major Randland entities.
So we got to add the thumb.
No, we don't. It's these 3. Or or maybe these 3.
And then Ishamael. So total of 4.
Well, again, Samitsu we never get the suggestion that she does it. And in fact, while Nynaeve wasn't there to try her hand at it, there is the suggestion that she probably would have been able to do something. But Samitsu is handicapped by her White Tower experience. Again, she's amazing, and I'm not trying to take anything away from her, but she has been told her entire career and her entire channeling life, we do not use all 5 powers for healing. We only use these ones. And she has a lot more foundation for that, where when she shows up to try and save Rand from the Padan Fain dagger, from the Shadow Logoth dagger that Padan Fain has slashed him with, she is out of her element and cannot help him, and Dahmer Flynn does. And so again, I think that Samitsu is sort of a very good healer and should be given a lot of credit for what she does. And she does, in fact, for example, save Dobrain.
Yes.
But
miraculously,
I think that she is ill-equipped to actually do things like heal madness, because there's just so much foundation there of don't, that Nynaeve doesn't have as much foundation for, and also looks at and thumbs her nose at actively. And Dahmer Flynn never gets that foundation because he learns in a completely different place.
And this is one of the advantages that Nynaeve and Dahmer Flynn both have, because they don't have 1,000 years of White Tower tradition telling them spirit and water. Spirit and water only. That is what you use to heal. Spirit and water. And Nynaeve, when she starts using all 5 powers, everybody's like, what the fuck are you doing?
They also like, use air.
I'm healing this guy.
It's spirit, water, and air.
Spirit, water, and air.
But they say that fire is dangerous. You can't heal with fire or you're going to kill somebody. That's the big one that they're like, if you use fire, you're going to kill somebody.
And once again, like Dahmer Flynn's like, oh yeah, dude, I use fire and earth to heal.
Yeah.
Like, it's great. Like, I use all 5. Don't worry.
Yeah.
But fire and earth, baby.
You know,
where it's at.
At what point does somebody finally sit down and be like, look, we have categorically found instance after instance after instance of all the stuff you say never do X is actually the better way to do X. At what point do we finally like it's I mean, I know just the real answer, or the more logical answer, would be you really don't, because they all have these rules in place because people have fucking died trying to do shit the other way.
Yes.
I mean, it's just like discovering nuclear power. It is inherently dangerous, and people are inherently flawed. So there are going to inherently be mistakes, and sometimes mistakes evolve into really bad fucky wucky and somebody sleeps in the forever box.
Real bad fucky
Many
wucky.
somebody
Real bad
sleep
fucky
in the
wucky.
forever box.
And that's how you wind up with shit like the demon core and things like that.
Yeah.
So I
will
like
say,
logistically I get it, but also at some point there needs to be like a resurgence of just in the spirit of Herodfell, just make a one power research and development like section, like just come on.
a renaissance, as it were.
The one
That's what I think the fourth
Renaissance
age would
power.
be. I think the fourth age would be the Renaissance period.
Absolutely.
If it's
no, 100%.
If it's in memory of Rand and or Herodfell, then it would be a Randessance. So.
You dick.
Wait, would it be a Randessance
fell?
No.
I'm so glad that you got where I was going as it was happening. That was amazing.
Yeah.
Yes. And invariably, some asshole dressed up like someone from Star Trek and showed up.
Yeah.
Like Asmodean?
Yeah. Yep. That would be the guy.
That would be the guy.
All right. So I'm gonna talk a little bit more and then stop talking for basically the rest of the episode because I've already talked about it. So but my final thoughts are I think that it's really interesting the different ways that they do it, because so many people have so many different foundations for where they're learning, how they're learning, what they're told, and what they know to be true from their own experience. I really wish that we had gotten more information about what Ishamael did to lose. But again, super respect for the fact that Robert Jordan got a contract for one book. So he wrote one book and didn't bog it down with all of the minute details about how things worked. I think that that was the right choice. That being said, once he actually got a chance to write all of the rest of the books that he wrote, it feels out of place that we didn't find out a little bit more about how many of the different powers of the one power did he use to go ahead and heal Lews Therin? Or was it all just true power? Is that why it hurt so bad? Was there something special about using the true power that needed to happen because of his connection with the Dark One? And at the time, Sidene not being cleansed and the Dark One having, a lot more control over it and things like that. It's so hard to say. And unfortunately, we can't ever ask anymore. That being said, I really think that this is, unsurprisingly, an allegory for PTSD. And very, very much I have no actual personal experience with PTSD myself, nor anyone that I actually know well enough to really be around long enough to have any issues with it, have ever had PTSD. I have, like Brandon Sanderson, watched enough media and read enough articles and seen enough stuff to sort of understand what's going on without actually ever claiming to know what's going on. But at the same time, again, I think the taint and the madness is very much Robert Jordan coming to terms with his own PTSD, helping explain it to other people who don't know anything about PTSD, talking about what we can possibly do about PTSD, things like that. And I think that Brandon Sanderson, later on in the books, does a very admirable job as another person like me who has never experienced it themselves, talking about the fact that it never really goes away. You can treat it you can medicate it, you can therapy, you can have somebody go through therapy, you can do all of these things, and they absolutely can, though not always, improve someone's condition and make it so that it happens less, or that it happens with less intensity, or that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, someone who has been through that much trauma, someone who has that brought home with them so hard, is never really going to get away from it. And I think that is what Robert Jordan was trying to say with it can't be healed. But I think that Brandon Sanderson did a very good job with it can be mitigated. And so I have always very much appreciated the way that the madness exists from the get-go, and then how it's dealt with by the end. And I very, very much appreciate both Robert Jordan and Brandon Sanderson for both of their knowledge bases and their attempts at explaining and appreciating and respecting what people who have gone through trauma experience, and how difficult and nearly impossible it is to actually eliminate trauma once it's been experienced.
Yeah,
I like that.
I do too. And with that, I mean, and this is not what you insinuated, so please don't think that I'm saying that.
Sure.
But PTSD can come from a lot more places than the quote unquote poster child of PTSD.
Very
it's not just your combat vets, or your like first responders that have responded to inherently violent things. There's people that if you sat down and looked at their life, for you might see like the worst day in their life and be like, that's a really bad day. But for them in the moment, it can create PTSD. I think there's even a different variant now. What is it called? CPTSD.
Well, and of course,
complex post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yeah. And I do want to say real quick, you're completely right, and I could not agree more. And I will say that PTSD is most often associated with veterans and things like that. But again, even just out of the name, it is called post-traumatic stress disorder. It does not say anything in the name that actually requires it to be from combat or from anything like that. It's just about trauma. Now, most of us would agree that war is some of the most traumatic shit that you can ever be in, which is again why it's probably the most common in combat veterans. But at the same time, again, as you said, there's nothing in that name that actually requires it to be war or combat or anything. It is just trauma. You have hard enough, strong enough trauma, you can have it, and that's just a truth.
And a lot of it doesn't always necessarily have to be like really, it could be something that somebody else is like, oh, that's just a really bad day, but it's all about your response and your brain's response and how you handle trauma. Because to give a bit of a difference between PTSD and CPTSD, PTSD typically is just going to have things like a sense of the threat, of trying to avoid recalling the situation or things that remind you of the situation.
Yep.
And then, of course, the most famous aspect that we see in movies, especially for combat vets, is re-experiencing that 1,000-yard stare. Like they're not here; they're back in Vietnam or Iraq or Afghanistan or any number of other places. CPTSD has the same three symptoms combined with affect dysregulation, negative self-concept, and interpersonal disturbances. So, and that's what makes it complex PTSD, because there's an added or some added layers of complexity to the PTSD. All that being said, like many things, the Wheel of Time provides a fantastic jumping off point for many discussions. And we've said it many times, hundreds, if not thousands of other people have said it many times. Mental illness and mental issues are some of the biggest and most in-your-face examples that the Wheel of Time gives us points to talk about. you can almost pick a character. You can pick Land, you can pick Nynaeve, you can pick Rand, you can pick Matt, you can pick Rand again whenever he's slightly different. I mean, it's just the nature of the books. And I completely agree with Daniel. I think for sure, if it's not even been just completely confirmed, because I think Brandon Sanderson essentially says that he, from reading Robert Jordan's notes and how he was writing about the madness and the taint, that he kind of looked at it the same way, that it was kind of his way of visualizing and trying to explain kind of how PTSD affects. It's just this darkness that hovers over the mind, that has its barbs in the mind, that you don't always have control over whenever you have a good day or a bad day, when you do get lapsed into those things. So I don't know. I think some of the people that I'm not saying that you have people in your life that definitely do have PTSD or any variant thereof, but I think if we could somehow look at a list of all the events that have caused people to have some variant of PTSD, I think it'd be a really eye-opening list, because there's going to be things on that that to us are going to be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. They had to engage in combat. That makes a lot of sense. But then there's going to be the person that, just had a terrible experience that for us, we're like, yeah, that's really terrible. But, it doesn't seem lifelong traumatic in the form to cause PTSD symptoms. But, then again, we don't get to make those decisions. Yep. So wish we did, because that'd be real cool. We could be like, you actually don't have PTSD. No. And it actually meant that you were cured and didn't have it. Or any other number of diseases and afflictions. But
it would be really nice to be able to actually snap your fingers and just say, feel happier, and depression was gone. But that's not how it works.
But to stop rambling and to kind of get to, I guess, like the concise point of my final thoughts about the topic, rather than just PTSD, because you know how much I love to get detracted over into that, almost anything. I really like the little bit of research I did during the episode. I'm not going to lie and say I did it before the episode. The reframing the removal of the taint as the same or similar to removing compulsion, rather than being a true and actual healing, even though it's still almost the way it's presented, even though Nynaeve directly says, I didn't use healing leaves. It's still talked about as healing madness. It's still talked about in the same sphere as, healing a wound or something like that, which in some ways is helpful and beneficial, but in the way it actually works in the series, does not seem to be the case. And I think it makes it easier to understand just how detrimental the madness actually is, how irreversible much of the damage is, at least for the one power. I had a third thing that I just forgot, so I'm just going to end it as there and stop rambling on.
Okay, ramble. We like to hear you talk.
Final thoughts when it comes
that
to
makes three of us.
Heyo. Who's the third one?
They're all up here.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah.
Me,
get Andrew some
myself,
and Irene.
Okay, so here's the deal. With
thick reference, bro.
When it comes to the madness, I think one of the really brilliant nods that Robert Jordan makes, and later on Brandon Sanderson sort of carries that torch on, is that we're introduced into a world in which men who can channel are inherently known to be feared, because they will go insane and they will kill you. And that's really what we know about them. We know they will channel, they will go insane, they will kill you. Not only will they kill you, they will kill literally everything within 100 square miles, and we're going to have the breaking all over again, and it's going to toss us, it's going to destroy all of society's progress. This is the ultimate...
mountains bow down and the seas will roar.
Yeah, this is nuclear holocaust, right? If men can channel, nuclear holocaust. And it's not an unrealistic leap in logic, because that's almost literally what happened. But one of the brilliant things that Robert Jordan and Brandon Sanderson do together is they bring it back. They humanize these men who are necessary. We know, according to Rand's vision when he goes through the Twisted Door Terangriel, that he needs male channelers and female channelers at the last battle, as well as the Shan Chan, as well as all the men and women of the Dragon's Legion. Like, he needs literally every hand on deck. And we get, deck? And with the, what?
Did you say deck?
On deck.
I'm sorry, I heard an I, and I was like, this is a very different last battle than I remember.
Yes. Yes, he needs the Shan Chan on deck.
And
he needs the sea folk on deck, which is fun because they're already on deck.
He does a very good job. They do a very good job of humanizing and taking this nuclear warhead, turning it back into a person, and talking about the struggle that person faces for the good of humanity.
A greater good.
For the good of the light. And once you sort of understand these people's struggles more intimately, you, like as the reader, you experience it from the perspective of Nynaeve going, there's gotta be a way to heal this. I remember my first time through going, there's gotta be a way to remove the taint on Saidin. There's gotta be a way. There's gotta be a way. And then once the taint was removed, it was like, okay, we've done that. There's gotta be a way to heal the madness in some of these men. There's gotta be a way to do this. And for me, those were some really amazing payoffs in the story, because I needed those things, because not because I'm like, you know, oh yeah, men need to blah, blah, blah. Not it. But I saw a people suffering. And my empathy, and I think everyone's empathy, looks towards that and says, God, there's got to be a way to help them. And I think they do a really great job of illustrating that. Like, yes, we can help you. This is what we've done to help you. Now it's your turn to give back. And even before the help was given, because remember, the Black Tower was founded in Lord of Chaos.
Mm-hmm.
Taint wasn't cleansed. Saidin wasn't cleansed until Winter's Heart. That's 3 books. Now, granted, Winter's Heart was like 3 weeks long or something stupid. But timeline.
Well, honestly, the timeline between Lord of Chaos and Winter's Heart is pretty short.
But you've got all that amount of time. Every single day
stupid.
Is a hair trigger to nuclear holocaust.
Mm-hmm.
And these men did this willingly, knowing that if/when they lose control, their spark will be snuffed out.
Yep.
And they did it willingly to present as much resistance as possible at Tarmangard. And I think that when you come to healing the madness, I think it's one of those things that people who suffer under PTSD, I think they all have in common an aspect at one point in time or another of it's hopeless. It's hopeless. I'm done. There's nothing I can do about it, and I can't see a way out of this. And so many people have been there, and it's never a great place to be. But you've got to remember, like these guys did, and like these people did in these characters. I'm getting emotional with characters. But it's because we know people like this in real life. And you got to remember, never give up. There's always tomorrow. There's always to spit in Sightblinder's eye till shade is gone. I mean, you've got to keep moving forward. Giving up is not an option. Caving in is not an option. And for this allegory to be retold in the Wheel of Time, I think is one of the things that we resonate with. And it's not a men or a woman thing in this particular case. It's a human thing. We've all been there. We've all faced the madness of those dark days, the madness of those times that tell us your demons are lurking in the shadows, waiting to pounce. And healing the madness, I think is a colloquial term that they use. And I think in this episode, we have sort of identified the differentiation. We can remove the taint. We can pull the dagger out, and we can stop the bleeding, and we can stop it from getting any worse. What we cannot do is make it seem like it never happened. So you'll carry that memory with you. You'll carry that trauma with you. But you get to choose how that trauma affects you in the future. And there's nothing more empowering that I can think of to look back on my past and say, yeah, you mistreated me. You abused me. I made some bad decisions that led to undue stress and trauma. But I will not let that drag me down in the future. And I will learn from those mistakes. I will learn from that. And I'll be stronger tomorrow because of it. And I think that's what healing the madness really is. Being better tomorrow than you are today. It's a marathon, guys, not a sprint. Just a little bit each day. Do one hard thing every day and grow. And that's what healing the madness is.
Well, either option sucks because I
got way more serious than I intended to.
No, you're not.
I got fat, and I definitely can't run. I run like 5 steps on my back. It's like, what the fuck is happening?
Andrew's body hates him.
So I don't know why it took me all the way until after my final thoughts to think of this, and I'm just gonna very, very quickly just
Daniel, I'm gonna say some things and I'm gonna stop talking. Also, Daniel, I'm gonna say a couple more things.
Just real quick. I love the idea that we were talking about of like, the medical professionals say if you get stabbed, leave it in there until you can get a medical professional to take it out. I feel like Nynaeve was the medical professional who was pulling out the knife and cauterizing it on the way out, or like stitching it up as it was coming out so that it doesn't do any additional damage. And I feel like Ishamael was the bro who came by and was like, bro, you have a stab wound. And he was there and was like, no, I don't. Leave me alone. I'm going to go to the hospital. And then he was like, all right, cool. Yeah, no, I'm definitely going to pull it out. And then just grabs the hilt and pulls. Which is why it's stuck.
Oh, I was just going to go there. Oh!
And spills his beer on it afterwards. Yeah.
Anyway, thank you so much for being here on the special live season finale of season 3 of the Black Toe podcast. You love it. We love it. We love you. We're grateful for you. We cannot wait to see you. If you're watching this live, we cannot wait to see you in 4 days. If you're not watching this live, we can't wait to see you on October 15th and 16th of 2022. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be the 4th annual Gathering Madness. We're going to kick off the season 4 of the Black Tower podcast. It's going to be the greatest season yet.
Amazing.
And
if you're listening,
guys, if you're listening afterwards, start making plans for 2023 Utah, where we're going to be meeting in, I Blacktower. The weekend of the 14th and 15th, or possibly the 21st and 22nd of 2023. So make your plans now, because that's when we're going to be doing next year, because the birthday is on the 18th, which is a Wednesday, which is annoying, because that means do we do the weekend before or the weekend after? I don't fucking know. Plan for both.
Yeah. And also for anybody who is tuning in after October 15th and 16th of 2022, you're welcome for World Peace.
Yeah, exactly.
You're welcome.
Done.
So thanks for being here. Thanks for being awesome. Thank you for your patronage. Thank you for listening. Thank you for the likes. Thanks for subscribing. Oh yeah. Make sure if you're not subscribed to YouTube yet, subscribe to YouTube. Do not miss a single amazing second of The Gathering Madness or any of our other episodes. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much for conducting yourselves in an orderly fashion whilst receiving your this week's dose taint. We hope that you leave here just a wee bit more insane than you were when you first arrived. From all of us here at the Black Tower, I have been your Sorowan Mahale Josh.
I've been that there Bajan Mahale Andrew.
And I have been your I talk too much Mahale Daniel. Before we go, really quick, guys, I know that a lot of people I know all of you who are listening live know about this, but if you're listening to this later and you haven't been to blacktowerpod.com, make sure you pop over there, say hi. There are a bunch of things there that are resources for you. We won't spend a lot of time on that because, again, most people already know, but stop by, say hi, do all of the stuff. We look forward to seeing you there. And again, from all of us here at the Black Tower Podcast, thank you so much for listening. We love that there are new faces here who don't normally listen live because they either cannot or don't usually get a chance to. So thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. We love y'all. And in case we don't see you again, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
In the tower, you can bring your pain. In the tower, you can feel the strain. You've been having so much trouble just fitting in.